Hey everybody, it's Casual Boobs coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be covering a 4-for-1 special. Wargaming gave me all 4 of the tanks to test for the holiday ops, and they didn't give me hardly any time to do it in, and I also have a cold, so no face cam, and we're going to go real fast, and it's going to be a little bit different than normal. So we're going to get into it now. It's a 283 TLDR. It's got a 360 average alpha gun. The gun is kind of potato, and it's got this rear-mounted turret, and the armor is fairly solid. It likes to side scrape. The turret, again, is very good. It can side scrape, and that's kind of about it. It's fairly mobile. It does okay. It's a fine tank. Nothing special. 6 degrees of gun depression. It's just kind of like a slower version of the old Object 430 Mark II. And so here's a quick video of some of the gameplay for that. You can see how fast it is, right? It's not slow. It is definitely medium tank speed, right? And whoops. You can see the turret twitching around because lag is fun. But, you know, pay attention to the speed. It's not super slow, but it's not super fast. The gun feel like when you don't actually have to aim at weak spots, the gun feels okay, but you'll see later in the replay here. The gun is a little bit on the derpy side, but again, the armor kind of makes up for that, I guess. It's a one-trick pony. It side scrapes, and that's it. It does hull down things. It's sort of like a medium tank version of a 705. We skip forward a little bit, and you can see kind of the sound must be messed up because it makes the sound of an autoloader, even though it's a single-shot gun. And we move forward, and you can see I'm just a little bit faster than this KV-5. He must have a turbo or something. I don't think KV-5s are normally that fast. But, yeah. We're about to get up here and actually use our gun and get our face in, because that's what you do in this tank. You get your face in. There's a 4202 that has forgotten that he doesn't actually have any armor. There's no armor on a 4202 anywhere, so too bad for him. And now look. I rushed the shot, and I shouldn't have, but you can see just how slowly the gun aims in, and it just, you know, as soon as you have to hit, like, the lower plate of something from any distance away, like, that wasn't a long shot, and it still didn't pen. Now, I did pen the turret of the 4202, and we did, you know, bounce a heat round from an SU-130 PM, so that's kind of what you got going on here, is that this tank likes to do that, and that's the end. Okay, next tank. Alright, the next tank is the BZ-176. It's the rocket tank. TLDR, it's a slow, heavy tank. Very, very slow, heavy tank. That is a big, stupid derp gun. It has AP rounds that do 650 damage. It has big-ass HESH rounds that have 225 pen, which is actually more, but also do 800 damage. And it's got a very, very long reload, like KV-2, right? So don't get yourself in a fight where you're by yourself. You're going to have a bad time. I will say, like, I tried shooting a lot of HESH rounds out of this thing, and it against some targets it was devastating, but against a lot of targets, if you don't hit the spot you're trying to hit, it's not going to go very well, because you don't get to if you don't pen, it doesn't do a very good job. The gun is absolute trash. It is potato. Like, these soft stats are catastrophic, and so I ended up using just everything I could to help the gun out. Right, I used rammer, V-stab, improved aiming, and then I used a pink improved aiming, right, because it's the only way that becomes worthwhile. This, and it was, you know, even with food and a good crew, because I had a sheriff account and stuff, this is still bad. These stats are still awful. The gun is just potato, but you have to accept that because it hits for 650. So if you're trading with things, that's okay. If you're not, that's not good. You don't want to get in a DPM fight because you're going to have a bad time. The armor is fairly solid. Looks like this. Yada yada. Lower plate's weak. This upper plate looks strong against its own 208 penetration, but that's not. It's a little bit deceiving. This whole lower plate is fairly weak. The lower plate is weaker. This plate, you know, 250. That's tier 8 premiums are gonna tier 8 shooting premium are gonna pen that. Tier 8 tank destroyers shooting premium are gonna pen that. Tier 9s are gonna pen that all day. Tier 10s are gonna pen that all day. Tier 10s shooting premium are gonna pen your turret. If it's, you know, you have a fairly this is 41 millimeters thick, so right now it's going to overmatch itself. But it's if you're not shooting, getting shot at with a big stupid 160 millimeter gun, it's actually fairly okay. The problem is that when you aim down, right, it's got this. The gun is on a trunnion, so what that means is when you're aiming over a hill to shoot at somebody, this sticks up, right? It sticks up out of the hull more so than the actual gun, right? You can see how the gun is like this, but this sticks up more. So if someone is shooting at you over a hill, you will have a way to shoot back at them. If they do some of this action, you can shoot them right there. So that's that. I will say again, the tank is very, very slow. It has the rocket boosters, but when you're not using the rocket boosters, it's like 10 power to weight, which is catastrophically bad. top speed of 30. So anyways, all right, let's get into, just real quick here. This is what, let's get into this, some gameplay about this. So we're starting up a game here, and this is the first game I ever played in the thing. And you can see here the turbo boosts up, and here we go. It sounds freaking awesome. We're using the rocket boosters, boys. Here we go, 44 kilometers an hour, and everything is awesome. And then all of a sudden you run out, and holy crap! All right, now we're down to 12, and all of a sudden everybody catches up to us again. Dear God, this thing is so slow. It's just, oh my God. You do have 10 degrees of gun depression, so that's nice, I will say. This one is more of a meme, right? It can be pretty solid, of course, but like, it's mostly what you're going to want to do is shooting the HESH rounds and trying to pen somebody for 900, and that's just not always going to happen. So I think this is more of a meme tank than anything else. It's like this year's version of a Caliban, sort of. But you can see, it doesn't move hardly at all, and a turbo doesn't really, and I just sent that. I didn't really have to aim it or anything like that, but it was, 705 is nice, and that's what I wanted to show for this. The next one, real quick, we're going to get into this. This is, I had already fixed the equipment loadout. I had, V-stab rammer and improved aiming on this thing, and you can see I'm using the turbo boosts and frickin' rockets, and here we go, and it seems really impactful, and it feels like I'm going really fast. But you can see I'm barely keeping up with the Gonzalo in my platoon. That's Schwacked is running a Gonzalo. You get 4 of these rocket boosts in a game, and it's just Q to press it, or whatever you have that mapped to. And I'm having to use these just to keep up with the Gonzalo. So, like, rocket boosts sound frickin' awesome, but the tank is catastrophically slow either way. So it didn't feel that great, right? I mean, and the turbo does give you +9 to the top speed during rocket boost time, I suppose. But I've just, we'll just have to see if there's an entire line that does this and you just got rocket tanks going everywhere, then we'll just have to see how that plays out. But, just no getting around just how frickin' slow this tank is. So, but yeah, there we go. I used 3 of my 4 boosts just getting down to there at the same time as everybody else. Alright, the next one is the Char Mle 75. It's a tier 9 premium French light tank, which again, I'm not sure. I know the 283 is not a premium, it's just a reward tank. It doesn't earn bonds, it doesn't earn credits, but you don't need a special crew for it. It can train other crew. I'm not sure. I think the MLE is the same thing, where it doesn't earn credits. There's I don't know where the crew are in this thing, because they're certainly not in the turret. There's not really any armor. It's a light tank. There's no armor. Enough said. The big thing about this is it's very strange. There's 2 modes, right? There's a travel mode, and then there's a shooting mode. The travel mode is this. And when you click the travel mode, you get frickin' 42 power to weight. You get turbo mode and so on and so forth. There's no time limit on this, and you go 75, and it's pretty quick. Your turret traverse goes to crap. Your view range goes to crap, so that's worth noting. And also your camo goes to crap. So you can't spot as well when your guys are flying around in turbo mode. That kind of makes sense. And your aim time, your gun isn't as well behaved, and so on and so forth. And so then when your soft stats are catastrophically bad too, it's just kind of like what Wheelie Boys should have been, right? Then you click this button, and you go into like move around mode, and all of a sudden your gun stats are a lot better. You go down to 50. You only go to 55, and your view range is up to 370, which is still bad, still very bad, but it's not 350. 350 is catastrophic. And this is a bit of a weird tank. So it's got a magazine, it's got a drum, and in that drum you'll have 2 bursts, right? So you click the button once, and it goes pop, 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 and each of those is 200 damage. And there's like 1 second in between the drum, in between the shots in that first shot. That's weird to say. And then there's 3.5 seconds, and then pop, pop, pop. So in the course of, not very long. The point is not very long, and you can drop 1200 damage on it, on something. However, your reload is catastrophically bad. You are just going to sit there. There's no early damage for you. That's not going to happen. No early crossings are going to happen. No nothing. It's got your standard 3-man crew, so it's actually okay for crew training in that way, and let's get into the game. All right, so you can see now we're starting the game off, and we're in the moving mode, and it moves pretty fast. It takes 3 seconds to go stationary, to go from the travel mode to the shooting mode, but it only takes 1 second. Whew, only takes 1 second to go from the shooting mode into the travel mode. So that's worth noting. Here we go. I'm going now. I'm in the move around mode, which is not like sluggish, but I'm not at all ready for that 1390. I don't know why I even went up there because it's not ready at all. And now finally you can see I'm loaded, ready to go. This thing does not carry very much ammo too, by the way. I mean, it sounds like 24 shells and 18 shells sounds like a lot, but when you're pumping out 6 rounds in a mag, 18 shells goes really fast and 24 shells goes really fast. And you know, even if you like pend every shot that you carry, you can only do a maximum of like 8,000 damage in this thing. So it's going to be really, really limited. In some ways, it sort of feels like a 1357 at tier 9. But it's awkward. It's kind of an awkward tank, and I think it's really good. It's going to be, the better of a player you are, the better you are going to be able to leverage the strengths. Here we go. Here we go. Pershing is going to get tagged once. Here we go. It's going to back up, and we wait. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, I only shot him one. I clicked the button one time, and he just took 600 damage. And, you know, he learned something. So now we're going to skip ahead a little bit. Get up in here. And I want to show you this. So we're at pretty far distance. And I see that 50 TP is crossing. So we're going to aim. And he backed up as soon as I shot, so my third one missed. But you'll notice that a lot. It's this tank, you're not going to hit all 3 unless you're right there. So I'm going to move forward again in the replay so I can show you some more of the stuff. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. We're still waiting for the reload. And, oh, and there's a cobra coming up here in my face, which is a problem, which is a big problem. And again, I missed one because I hit him in the side, so I only penned 2 of my 3 damage. 2 of my 3. Now I could rush him again, but I didn't want to get eaten by a cobra. And I think if he knew what I was, I think he, you know, if he would have pushed forward and just eaten me, then I would have had a big problem. But he didn't know what to do about this tank because it's brand new and hasn't seen it, and so on and so forth. So there we go, 2 for 3 again per the usual. And then we'll skip forward, and I end up going up here and getting shot by a base camping SU-130 PM. But again, this gives you a feel for what the tank does. It's fine. I like it. It's hard to play, though. So for new players, you're going to have a bad time, probably. And on to the next one. All right, the last one is the Tier 8 medium tank, the Iron Arnie. And it's very, very similar in feel to like a Super Pershing, if a Super Pershing didn't have pref. But in a good way, right? It's got the spaced armor all over it, which looks very nice. It's got it on the upper hull and the lower hull, and all around the turret. And the turret feels really comfy, right? The Super Pershing has pref matchmaking, so it never has to deal with tier 10s, but also the armor kind of blows. And they buffed it, and it's better now, but like this is just so much better, right? You got these little viewports and viewfinders that you can still get shot through, right? Like here, if you're shooting at this thing, hit it in little viewports, and you'll go in. But those are pretty small. It's also got this cupola, which is again not huge. But in general, if you're not hitting that, it's fairly effective armor everywhere, right? And heat rounds get absorbed a lot of the time by the spaced armor because it's 65 millimeters of spaced armor and it's pretty far apart. So I felt very comfy in the tank, and it's just the most conventional. It's got 10 degrees of gun depression. I will say that it has the crew layout of the radio man is the commander, so it's got the same crew layout as the TL1. The T95E6, it does not have the same crew layout as an M48 patent on the tech tree. That one has the loader as the radio man. I hate that they do this. This is the one thing that's gonna trip you up. The boys tank, the T42, has the same crew layout. The TL1 has the same crew layout, and it's slightly different. So that's not the same thing. Yeah, so that's worth noting. The gun is here we'll compare it to the patent KR. It's got it does more penetration. 230 is pretty solid, and this is a pretty like decent heavy tank support vehicle, right? The DPM is pretty bad, right? The long reload for 320 damage. You notice this. You don't want to ever get in a DPM fight with somebody, but having that 105 is nice because your alpha actually matters. You have enough ammo to feel good. The soft stats are surprisingly great, right? That's one of the things. You probably don't even need a vertical stabilizer on this tank because the soft stats are just as good as a patent KR, but instead of hitting for 240, you hit for 320. The final accuracy of 0.42 is pretty bad, which is why I just went rammer improved aiming, and then a turbo to help pick up the speed, because the speed is also going to let you down a little bit. It's got better ground resistances, but the power to weight isn't as good. So you'll see in the video here, I ran it with a turbo, and I think I'll probably keep that on there. Overall, this is the most conventional tank of the bunch, but also I think it's just the most comfy to play. It's a good tank. It's pretty solid. The crew layout is the only thing I have to gripe about. Okay, so we're starting out watching the game on what is this? Pearl River. It's an all tier 8 game. It's the only game I ever played in this tank, and you can see just as we start out, it's about as fast as other medium tanks, right? So it's not even really that slow. But again, this has the turbo on it, so I suppose if you didn't have that, it would probably be slower. But it gets around. It doesn't feel sluggish. It kind of feels like the Super Pershing after they buffed the mobility on it, so it's fairly decent. We'll skip ahead a little bit. Alright, so we're going up this hill. It's still maintaining our speed. It's like I said, the heavies, some heavies and some faster things got here a little bit before us, but part of that's due to our spawn. But I can poke over this hill using my gun depression, and the gun feels fairly tight. I mean, it's pretty close distance, but I didn't have to sit and wait forever. And 230 standard pen feels pretty solid. So I didn't feel like I had to do a bunch of work to make this gun behave. And we'll put one into the hull of the Skoda, and I'll back up and we'll get tripped up over Schwacht. Schwacht and I are going to do a little dance here, but then I get tripped up by a Progetto, and I end up tripping up Schwacht, and that's teamwork is hard, you guys. It's okay. It's a tight corner, but you can see now I'm loaded, and I see there's like 5 or 6 of us, and I suck at teamwork. I was just distracted, so I accidentally blocked Schwacht. And I see a 110. He's on 650 hit points, so I'm thinking that's a 2-shot. There's 5 of us here. Let's push this. And I go through, and I snap the shot, and I accidentally hit him on the far side of his pike, which means it bounces off, and he's okay, which is bad. I mean, luckily there was a bunch of us. But anyways, that's the end of the part I wanted to show. It just gives you an idea of like what the tanks can do and what they can't do, and I think they're all pretty decent. I think I probably will like the Iron Arnie best at first, and then once I get a feel for the Char a little bit more, I will probably enjoy that quite a bit too, but that's taking some getting used to. The BZ, the rocket tank, is all memes. It's kind of like a KV2, and I'm sure you'll see all kinds of people getting penned for 1,000 damage, but I don't generally like things like that. Like, I wasn't really a big fan of the Caliban, but if you like the Caliban, then that might be a good tank for you, because it's a similar kind of feel. And the 283 is kind of bland, in my opinion. It's not a bad tank. It seems fine. It seems really well armored. Doesn't seem overpowered. It seems like a fine tank. I'm just kind of blah. I don't really feel the urge to go play that one a whole bunch. So anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this speed round of World of Tanks tank reviews, and good luck on your Holiday Ops box rolling. And when they give me the boxes, I'll probably do a whole guide and show you what the bunch of boxes give me, so you can see that too. But that's not this video. So alright, thanks guys. Bye.